of angels under cover of night. People are drowning in a sea of light.
The devil's holding your life on the line. Angels are calling, praying for time.
Something's gotta give, something's got to break. Before it's too late, before it's too late. After the sun goes down. After the sun goes down. Someone's gonna live, someone's gonna die. After the sun goes down. After the sun goes down. After the sun goes
Welcome to Night Owls, where you can hear the sirens call as another angel falls. I'm Rob Schulte, and with me, of course, is Bill Tilley. Hello, Bill.
Hello, Robs. I get the feeling that our podcast nights will never be the same.
It will never be the same.
That was
How are you?
That was an outstanding intro. That was my first time viewing it for this episode. So, Rob, I had a little surprise for me, and I loved it.
Oh, yes. Well, Bill, I got to tell you, we should put it out there. We've attempted Night Owls from time to time. It has been a goal of ours, but really it just fits into the Bill and Rob's family.
It really does. Wasn't our first covering of anything Baywatch nights related? Was that a Sold in a Room or in our original episodes?
Yeah, I think it was. And then I think we covered the Lisa Vanderpump episode on Vanderpump Robs.
Right.
And let me tell you, this is a wonderful, wonderful thing. I'm realizing though, I don't think I have ever seen the original pitch pilot for this show, which I think it exists somewhere, but is not on the German DVDs I bought.
Yeah, isn't the only part that's left over from that like the Hasselhoff fourth wall intro? Because then I know it plays into a different story. I forget how long it is, but I think they kept that part and stuck it on Pursuit.
Yes.
For the DVD set to go, hey, here's what this is all about.
Yep. Yeah, I believe you're right. So today we are covering Pursuit, which is a fantastic episode, like all of them. We'll get to season 2 eventually at some point in time. But before we actually talk about episode 1, Bill, we got to remind people, what the hell is Baywatch Nights?
Baywatch Nights is what you do when you're convinced that you can squeeze some more cash out of your syndicated series by starting another series and making it really not have a whole hell of a lot to do with the first series in the first place. That's kind of what Baywatch Nights is.
I mean, I love this show so much. It is like season 2, as I said, we'll get there, becomes a different beast. But season 1 of this show is fantastic for all of the reasons you think a Baywatch show that takes place at night would be.
Right. You kind of just look at it and go, I get it. What's going on? It's in the nighttime. It's a whole different world. It's just, it's strange because usually when you do a spinoff of a show, like you usually don't take the main character, one of them with you. It's always just a set of sub characters. But this is a rare breed because you take the Hoff with you and you hassle him to no end in this show. And this is some peak 90s weirdness.
Yeah.
from every angle that this show tries to take. It's just, and it's grabbing from so many places. I think, pretty sure the creator guys were just like, let's just go nuts. Let's just go crazy with this whole thing.
Well, how can Hasselhoff have a day job and a night job? I don't know, but we're going to make it happen.
You know, the Hoff does not sleep. It's pretty well documented. Even in this very first episode, it's well documented. He gets tired, but he doesn't sleep because
that is so true.
There's too many lives to save, AM and PM.
Well, and different styles of saving lives too, right?
I think so. And the thing is, I've watched Baywatch over the years. I'm not a Baywatch super fan. I'm sure I've watched fewer episodes than her. I definitely have not watched all the seasons, but I'm familiar with it. I was not getting to see any Baywatch nights until we first brought this up and did a first episode about it, because I didn't even know it was on when it was on. It was just wasn't in my radar. But now that I do know that it's there, it's just like, oh, okay, this is pretty wild. So, and it's strange because I feel like, just based on this first episode, it's almost like we get a parallel Mitch Bucannon, and maybe we can talk about that based on what we know about Mitch from Baywatch and what we see in Baywatch nights.
And let's be completely clear. I've only seen like sporadic Baywatch episodes, right? Like, it's a show I've always wanted to watch from the beginning. Never have. I haven't even listened to an episode of the Santa Monica Mountains podcast, which shame on me, but it is one of those things that's always eluded me. You know, I've got a flight I'm taking tomorrow to Chicago. Maybe I should queue up some Baywatch episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Part of the reason I've seen as much as I have is due to Santa Monica Mountains, but I've hit some stuff here and there just for fun because I have it on my Plex. It's there. So I've skipped around in it. Plus, I know there are some episodes with guest stars that I want to see their stuff that's going on. They did some wrestling shows, you know, they've done some martial arts. Baywatch went in every possible direction that Nights only had time to go in like a couple of directions. Baywatch went every way, but you know, I almost feel like Baywatch, like it was back then, is like this thing that like I can't have it on my plate every day. You know, you get a little bit here and there when you feel like it, you know, that's kind of the thing. But Baywatch Nights is a show that I could sit down and watch pretty close together, just because it's got some serious WTF vibes that just kind of carry you through that episode into the next one, into the night.
Yeah. Quick question. Which song do you like more? The opening theme or the opening credits theme or the closing credits theme?
Oh man. See, this has been a problem because I've been obsessing over both these themes since we said we were going to do this episode. And I'm kind of leaning into the first one just because the sheer audacity of having David Hasselhoff co-write and co-perform a song with Lou Rawls, legendary bluesman.
Did Hasselhoff co-write that song?
He got a credit on it. I think he's got and that may be just a credit. You know how it is. It may because, but they're definitely both on that song because, you know, Hasselhoff was always pushing his singing abilities in his career. So,
because I know he's the only singer on the closing credits, right?
Correct. And, you know, he did songs for Baywatch. Nobody in their right mind could not be just lost in the current of love from the end credits. And I like them all. I mean, anything about this, just, it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad. I like them so much, but I really like the Nights first season theme really sets a tone. Yeah. In what is a promising way, in the way Night season 2 episode theme really crushes your spirit.
It really does. I mean, even the thing is that like we'll find out later on in the season, like Eddie Cibrian, Vanderpump Rules lore starlet, he becomes a member of the cast, and like when you see a new person pop in or drop off the opening credits, you're kind of like, okay, we're still in first season mode, but it doesn't change the overall effect of these amazing opening credits.
Yeah, they're stellar. And you know, there was a note in there that was just off to the side said, must have T-top, get Knight Rider vibe.
Yep. Well, I gotta know, coming from Knight Rider Hasselhoff in your world, what was it like for the world to be like, okay, Hasselhoff's now in a syndicated drama called Baywatch? And then, I guess what it meant when he was doing the spinoff, we kind of talked about that already, but like, what was it like in the early 90s that you can remember where you're like, okay, Hasselhoff is in a new show and it's not with a talking car?
So I watched Baywatch proper on NBC when it came out.
Okay.
That very first season. And so I tried it because Parker Stevenson was in it. There were these names I recognized and I liked it. It was a fun show. And you get it. He's playing a heroic character and he's not playing Michael Knight. He's a different character, but he's still got that same core Hasselhoff vibe of, guy just trying to do the right thing and help people out. So it played out. It wasn't particularly exciting that first season, I don't think. And that's probably why the ratings were down and got canceled. I'm sure I didn't watch the season the whole way through. Definitely watched the pilot because it was a TV movie. And then after that, once it hit syndication, I think that's a whole different thing because now you see shows all hours of the day and night. They're all over the place. So if you're channel flipping and you see Hasselhoff and Baywatch come on the screen, and second season and on Baywatch is definitely let's amp up the jiggle TV part of this. Let's not kid ourselves about that. So what person wouldn't watch it if that's the kind of mood they're in? And he was a superstar. I mean, he still took off, and honestly, to the point where, the Knight Rider stuff was just in the past. I don't think people, he was on the show, but we weren't streaming then or anything. You couldn't go back and watch Knight Rider.
Yeah.
It wasn't on anywhere until maybe it would finally show up here or there. So if you want your Hasselhoff fix of him being a cool dude who does cool things and on the beach and all that other stuff, plus he's still driving neat cars and running around and fighting crime in his own ways, then it worked. It just worked out.
Interesting. Well, this show works out, and I think we should just start talking about season 1, episode 1, Pursuit. The summary by an anonymous writer on IMDb is Baywatch lifeguard Mitch Bucannon and L.A. Police Sergeant Garner Ellerbee begin moonlighting as private investigators for a small detective agency owned by Ryan McBride, which is located above a nightclub called Knights, owned by Lou Raymond. Mitch and Garner's first job comes when they are hired as bodyguards for Cassidy, a fashion model who claims that she is being stalked by a madman. Wow. I mean, I've watched this pilot probably 4 times, or not pilot, it's not the pilot,
right?
It's first episode. I've watched it probably 4 times now over the years, maybe 5. And I think this is the first time where my attention was kept like the entire time. Like it's just one of those things, or maybe it's just been a while since I watched it, which is true. But everything started to click, especially now that I'm like remembered what happened in the episode. But Bill, I think this is a killer first episode, no pun intended.
Yeah, it sets a tone. It's a classic sort of PI-ish type of story. The girl that's in trouble, something's going on. There's clearly a villain to be had. I think I could understand why it would take you a couple tries to catch it and be with it the first time, because I hadn't seen it in a while. I don't think I'd seen it probably for a couple of years at least, and I had to remember it. And I'd forgotten that this is the season where Hasselhoff does the noir thing. He does voiceover. So he kind of explains to the audience sort of what's going on, but a lot of his explanation is just this weird, back when I was a kid, I got a baseball story that relates to what we're doing. It's like this weird filler. But my first thought is like, all right, you got Mitch, and it's the clear problem of the story. What the hell is he doing? He's got a full-time day job. How does he do a full-time night job? You just have to go with it. Yeah. And Garner's there, and that makes sense because you're okay. Garner's a cop, so he would have the background. I mean, it's a buddy story. Mitch's was a hard fit for me just because he never showed any police-like ability in the other show.
Yeah.
You just kind of go with it. And they gave it a nice, simple plot. Girl in trouble. Find out why girl in trouble. Of course, there's a B plot hovering in the background, which we could get to later.
Yeah.
So overall, it's the perfect kind of nice, easygoing story to launch you into a new series.
It is. It's a little bit shoehorned in, like, oh, I'm a detective now, right? Like, or a private eye, and I work with Ellerbee, and he met this woman from New York who has an agency. Okay, all right, that sums it all up. We're here. But I love also that it's just really quick. Like, don't ask questions. It doesn't matter. All of this stuff happened, and now this is where we're at, and we're getting our sea legs, trying to become night owl detectives.
Yeah,
And
they go right to work, really.
Yeah.
And if you followed them from Baywatch, you know Mitch, you know Garner. Ryan, played by Angie Harmon, that's the wild card. This was her first TV starring role. And they have a office that's run down, which is classic detective, over a nightclub. So you've got this very specific spot that they can go to. They got to have a home base to work from.
Yeah.
So, you got the cool setting that you can float back and forth between. So it all works out really well. I think the only thing that I could have used a little more introduction to Ryan before she just sort of shows up into the mix, because you don't really know how to take her.
Yeah.
And the Mitch's narration is a little odd because it says, she bought this failing detective agency from the former owner, and Garner's on board with it. But why would you buy a failing detective agency? That's a little strange. And how they all work together is, I guess they're planning to work that dynamic out. So it just kind of starts up, and it's good because it gets everything moving. You're going to have to hang on to sort it out later if they ever do, because it's just a jump start, and then they're out the door and they're working.
Yeah. And another thing we should mention, just going off, they have this one character that's in like every other episode. I don't know. She might be in most of the episodes. She's in at least 12, but that's Lisa Stahl's character, Destiny.
Yeah.
Who's like a street astrological aura crystals person. Very like woo-woo L.A. They're trying to like say that, look, all of these different personalities have a place in this detective agency, because we're not relying on like the police or the lifeguards or something. We have to go with our instincts and our street smarts. And the street smarts comes from this person who's an ex-cop, this person who's I guess part-time lifeguard at this point, knows the beach, knows the area. We've got the lady who works the street with like street performers, and then we've got this rugged New York personality who has the street smarts of that. So it's like all of these different minds working together. It doesn't quite play out that way, but I like the intention of that.
Everybody's very distinct. Again, the only little bit of a wild card is Ryan, because she's described as grew up in Texas, got her PI license in New York. So they refer to her a lot as New York, but she has a very thick Southern accent at this time in her career. So it's a little weird when they talk about New York and she's got that, Texas lisp going on, which is kind of fun. I think it might have actually been more fun if she'd been from some down home Texas.
Yeah, like she was a sheriff's kid or something.
Yeah, because small town, big town juxtaposition, that might have been kind of neat. But I like her when she comes on screen, and I'm just going to bring up this point now because we brought it up in our original viewing, our first viewing of Night Owls. Is in the credits, they give her the worst shot.
Oh yeah,
in the credits. Your sexy show, everybody, Garner gets action shots. He looks cool. Mitch looks cool. Ryan is shown full on getting blinded by a pair of headlights and squinting into them. It's just like, what are you doing?
Or spraying the bug spray, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's almost like, are you trying to downplay her being a good looking woman so that all the guest stars can take over? I don't know. It's just a weird choice. I don't understand.
It was a choice made by someone whose only direction was make Hasselhoff and Ellerbee look cool. Do whatever else you want. And they're like, okay, I just need to focus on making sure they look cool.
True.
And we go. And Hasselhoff has to look more cool than Garrett or whatever his name is.
Well, and you got to think he does look cool because he's so cool. He can walk onto the set of an oddly placed photo shoot for an international magazine and just chat up the model and start petting the horse that they're taking her picture on.
Yeah. Gregory Allen Williams. I said
Yes.
Garrett. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. Garner Ellerbee.
Garner Ellerbee.
He's just, strolling that boardwalk and he's like, hey, what's going on over here? Hello, supermodel. It's essentially Cindy Crawford, right? Like that's the person they're trying to have her stand in as.
Sure. But of course, it's Carol Alt, who is a supermodel in her own right.
Yes.
So you got her. But the one thing I noticed, and I tell you, Rob, when they're doing that photo shoot, they put some kind of hair extensions into her already long hair. Her hair was so damn massive. It was
huge.
It was Medusa huge. Like I kept waiting for like a hand to come out of it, like on the Fat Albert and the Cosby Kids, the one dude with the hair that would just pull out an ironing board and pull out a horse, and it's like, good Lord, woman.
Yeah, it was big. And the interesting thing is that our introduction to her is the person saying like, let's take 5, and her saying, we'll take as long as I need. So we're like, oh, okay, this is some no bullshit prima donna, holier than thou model type. And then she meets Mitch and she's like, oh, hello, hi, very nice, and we're supposed to like her now. And then she hires them as bodyguards because of this creepy paparazzi guy, and another model has died, leaped to her death, I should say. And things aren't sitting well. And we're supposed to now like her even more. It's like, you really, like, I know what they did given the end of the episode, but is it supposed to be a blink and you'll miss it that she's actually a jerk? Or do you think they just set that up weirdly?
I don't know. It was unclear because I saw the same thing you did, and it's like, all right, so now she's just putty in the hands of Mitch Buchanan. Is that what immediately de-iced her heart? I'm not sure what they were going with that, other than I guess maybe to try and make her be like, strong, but it just came off as weird. And I mean, she's got the classic problem. Somebody's out to get her. She walks in the door and she tells him her story, and she's like, money is no object. And my first thought was like, why the hell are you in the Bucannon Ellerbee McBride, whatever they call it, detective agency with their shitty office and
alphabetical
stuff? Yeah, like a guy who was a lifeguard an hour ago that you just met. That right there raised some suspicion.
Yeah, maybe if she'll pay you whatever you'll get and she goes with the cheapos, maybe there's a reason she wants a not good detective agency to follow her around.
Maybe things will become clear.
Yeah, so there is this modeling shoot, like a runway shoot, that Mitch is like all horn dogged up in, and he's like in the dressing room with all the women. He's like,
yeah,
I gotta protect the woman. And Ryan's like, get the hell out of here, you dog.
Yeah,
you dog.
It seems to become clear, at least from this episode, that Ryan is the slap Mitch down character in this group, where she's going to call him out on his hedonistic, misogynist bullshit every time. Yeah. And it was weird because it's like, oh, I'm sure they just let anybody backstage where the models are dressed, and none of them have a problem with this strange. They don't know who the fuck Mitch Buchanan is.
No.
What's going on here?
That's what I want to know.
And this is a point, and I'm glad you brought this scene up because I got this weird feeling, and maybe it'll carry through, because I'm familiar with Mitch from Baywatch as the hero kind of guy, and it's the 90s, so you got to remember the time. There are things that they'll do in stories on TV that now seem like not very advanced thinking there, pal. Mitch is a real perv kind of guy in this episode. He's
a horn dog.
He's a horn dog. He says when they're backstage, Ryan calls him out on it. He's like, they're professionals, they don't care. And I'm like, that's not true. And he winds up kissing the client and having sort of an affair with her going on, which Ryan also calls him out on. And he flips it back on her that, she just needed some comfort, to the door. And these patterns start to go through
Yeah.
the show, and I'm thinking, are you trying to give us a second Mitch Buchanan that's this weird kind of unlikable character versus the one that's not quite this bad on Baywatch? It was real jarring. If you didn't see the show or you didn't see Baywatch and saw the show, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So were they trying to court a new vibe for Mitch, do you think? Or is this just
I
how
think
the writing panned out?
Hasselhoff was trying to court a new vibe for Mitch, and I think he missed the mark in trying to be suave detective-like guy who's trying to, learn this new career style, but can be seduced by the supermodel. Like, because none of it is ever Mitch's fault that he's like
Right.
kissing this woman, right? To Mitch, to the
Right.
character. He's like, oh, how could I? It's the client. The client wanted this. I just fell over head over heels for her. She's beautiful. She needs me. She needs comfort. And it really, you kind of looking at it with today's glasses want to go, well, Mitch, you don't have to do any of that. You can say, well, I don't feel like that's appropriate here. And, if that's it, that's it. And if not, then it's a different problem if she keeps pushing for it.
Yeah.
And at no point was Ellerbee ever going to be there. At no point was Ryan ever going to be there. Mitch had to be the bodyguard.
Yeah, and I know from a little bit of research from checking on this show over the years, Hasselhoff wanted to do a noir detective show.
Yeah.
And this is classic 40s, come here, babe, I'll make you feel better, and don't worry about it, and put yourself in my big strong arms, and everything will be fine. That played in the 40s. You could sort of get away with it decades after, but by the time the 90s, the mid 90s have rolled around, you can't put that on some Jiggle Beach detective show and expect to get away with it and play it serious. That's kind of nuts.
I mean, also you can't have like 40s noir detective in 90s silk pants. Like it just doesn't work the same way.
Yeah, and there's not even a way to play it off another male because, like you said, Garner is off on some B-side chasing down
let's talk
body.
about that real quick. So
yeah, let's do that.
Besides the bodyguard situation, which is not a detective's job, which is the A storyline, the B storyline is their first actual detective job is finding a corpse that has gone missing, not locating a dead body per se, not identifying a dead body, but a family got the remains of the wrong body. And I can't, so it was a man from India's body wound up in a L.A. family's home.
Right. A man
Well, not
from
their home,
a foreign
but, like,
country. I forget which country.
I think it was
And
India because they used a dated city.
Yeah. And a grandmother from like Pasadena, both to the same funeral home. Bodies got switched in the caskets. Caskets went to the right place with the wrong bodies. And the American family is like freaking out and they want grandma's body back. And Garner is like so jacked and pumped about this. Like he's just super excited for some reason to be chasing this dead corpse around. I think only because he mentions like, it's a paying gig, which Cassidy, the model's gig is a paying gig, but
and probably paying more if she'll pay whatever it takes.
And he's on that case. Like they talk about who's in rotation and who's taking what shift, but you don't see Garner. He's just kind of in and out a lot. So that's kind of sucks because there's no, like I said, there's nobody for Mitch's attitude to play off of. It's another male. Would they be the same? Probably not. Is Garner going to be the one to also call him? I don't know. We don't get to see it, so we don't know.
Yeah. Ultimately ends up that they got the bodies relocated, but unfortunately this other country cremates without even asking. And so the grandma is getting returned in an envelope. Pretty like cold.
Pretty cold. Yeah. I mean, that's how they tell Mitch about it because he didn't give a flying frick about this other thing going on. And they bring him up like, and it's Ryan that says it like grandma's coming home in an envelope. It's like, geez, Ryan.
And then takes the entire payment because their phone calls to India were so expensive. The payment just washed at that point.
Weep wop.
Yeah. which is funny because they make Mitch there at the end. It's like, you're making that phone call because you got to hang out with a model. But to finish the model plot out, I do want to touch back on after Mitch is panting like a dog in front of the models. The shoot happens. There's a lot of montages in this show. So there's like a 2 to 3 minute like photo shoot runway montage.
Legally obligated if you're working on a Baywatch inspired project.
Yep. And when they come back in, there's a threatening note to Cassidy on her mirror, written in lipstick in very nice handwriting, I should say. And that should be hint number 1. And this is all leading back to the paparazzi guy who wears all leather and the fakest looking goatee I've ever seen, who she got in an argument with prior. Now they spot him outside of the model shoot, and Mitch gets into a foot race with him, which I am surprised that Mitch could not catch this man running in the thickest leather pants I've ever seen.
Exactly. Let's just give the audience here, our friends, a little backstory. In Baywatch proper, it's basically Mitch is a professional kickboxer, ex-Navy SEAL, mountain climbing, skydiving, parasailing, deep diving, triple, quadruple winner of Ironmans and other Ironman-like triathlons. Like, he's basically the Superman ever. And he can't catch this dude who looks to me like he would be the kind of guy that stands outside of SIR claiming that he knows Tom Sandoval. Yeah. That should be enough to get me in, although he's completely tone deaf to the modern experience of what's happening here. And Mitch he can't bring him down. He just can't do it.
And he does bring him down at one point, but it's after the guy jumps into a t-shirt table, like someone selling t-shirts on Venice Beach. And Mitch then jumps after him jumping, but not before them knocking over some nuns. And then
like, to prove how dastardly we are.
Yes. But then the guy gets away when he throws a rollerblader at Mitch.
That was the best, when he weaponized this dude who is riding a bicycle with his head down, and he just grabs him and flings him. Mitch.
It was a bicycle, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you get to see both of their faces, the cyclist and Mitch's face, as he's hurled into him, as they do the Wayne's World close up. And the thing is, when the guy runs off, Mitch gets up. He's no farther away than when he started this foot chase.
Not at all.
Mitch is just like, nah, it's far enough.
And so basically, this guy gets some, Cassidy sends she receives some more threatening messages, some photos taken of her in her bed. We see the guy. Mitch is reading some interesting literature. And at the end of the day, Mitch comes to be Mr. Bodyguard, and the photographer is in the living room of Cassidy's house. And so Mitch and him get into a they fight, they break a coffee table. And then when he gets up, he grabs a gun, he's pointing it at Mitch, and Cassidy shoots him in the back. Oh no. And then Mitch goes to report the dead body to the police on the phone. And while he's doing that, Cassidy's digging through this guy's pockets, looking at his wallet. That doesn't seem like the thing you would do.
No, it really doesn't, because you got to think, there's been a couple of instances earlier where it's clear Mitch is like, I've checked the house. I've gone here. I've checked the alarm. It should have gone off at this window. Like, there's all these things that don't match up. And the only answer is like somebody inside turned it off. Like, there's not really another answer to this. It's, Cassidy opened the window. I opened it because I always leave that window open. Never mind that it's right by my bed and I'm being stalked by somebody who I think wants to kill me. Let's do that. And then she pulls that maneuver, and it's in broad view of Mitch. Like, he's 20 feet away across the room. Yeah. She didn't wait. She didn't wait till he left the room. And you just know, all right, this thinly veiled disguise has been ripped from her beautiful face. Maybe it's murderous. Maybe it's Maybelline. I'm going with murderous.
Well, how does Mitch figure it all out? Because she fires them, right? Essentially, because there's nothing left to be worried about.
Well, they don't get fired. They're just done. Mitch is
Well,
like,
sure.
well, that's the
Sorry,
end of
she
that.
ends the contract.
Yeah, everything's supposedly all good and well. And then we get the wrap up on the pier with Garner and Ryan, and Mitch is all bummed out. And he's like, I should have seen it. My lifeguard instincts were telling me I should have listened to him. And he looks at the photos that the stalker took.
Yeah.
And he notices they're all from different angles and the bed's all messed up because clearly she got out of bed, took the photo on a timer, got back into bed, did these things. Like it's her, which no shit, it's her. He saw her take the wallet. Like,
and we saw other paparazzi photos from like the woman who's the editor-in-chief of the Gossip Rag, right? So he knew what other paparazzi photos, the photo of her in the wannabe Mick Jagger at the airport.
Yeah, where it shows Cassidy at the Denver airport when the other model girl was being thrown off a cliff, which I love the scene with the lady. I think it's the mom from Dharma and Greg plays that.
Yeah,
one.
I think it is.
But that's Mitch and Garner doing the scene, and they play off each other really well in this part because they go and do their smooth bit and they snag this photo and everything. And of course, this photo shows the time is wrong because back in the day, they used to have clocks that you could take pictures of. And they show, well, Cassidy was in town 5 hours before she said she was. Plus, Ryan is constantly going to Mitch going, she told this. That's a lie. She told about this. That's not. She said she didn't take the perfume assignment that Dead Model got, but actually she got kicked off of that one and Dead Model got it. Like nothing's adding up at all what this girl says. And Mitch is just, he goes along with it. I'm not going to say he goes along with it till he can't go along with it anymore, but he really does turn a blind eye and does that bit where some characters are just like, I'm just going to take you at your word about everything until I get slapped in the face by a fact.
Yeah. It's interesting because, Mitch's inner guardian of the beach figures it all out, and that comes down to that photo at the haunted Illuminati Denver airport, where turns out that clock on the wall was a different time than she supposedly had landed.
Yep, which proves she had time to come back, kill other model, do all these things, set up all the stuff, and get it all done, which apparently that was the big photo because she took the guy's wallet so that she could get into his workshop/apartment looking for that photo, which she thought he had, but Mitch had. So she'd set the whole thing up the whole time. And then, of course, Mitch has got to take her in. Now, I want to know what your thoughts are on what happens at the end of this scene. How's it go down, Rob?
Well, remind me which scene exactly you're talking about.
So Mitch has called Cassidy out on it. He's going to have to take her in.
Oh, in that little room.
She ain't going to no jail.
Yeah. I love that she pulls out her gun and Mitch is stone cold. He is not flinching at all. And she pulls that trigger on him and he just opens his hand and he's got all the bullets. Now, does this mean that he had taken the bullets the last night he was at her place?
This was my exact question. When did Mitch empty this gun?
Yeah.
And why would he consider or not consider that she would have, while carrying this gun, double checked the clip to make sure there were bullets in the gun?
And so did he plan on holding these bullets until he's like, oh, I'm meeting up with her. I better hold these bullets. I need a good reveal.
I know. I think it's I think you did it on one of your Pumpkin Spice podcasts where I can't remember which movie it was, but you talked about how like a character goes into a bathroom and some hands come through the wall and they grab the character. And somebody mentioned so was the demon just sitting in that bathroom behind that bathroom stall for hours and hours and days, like waiting for this one moment to happen so they could do it? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I can't imagine it's going to be here's the thing. That is why these shows are great, because it doesn't make sense, but it happened. It's not unrealistic. I mean, it is unrealistic, but it's not unfathomable. It's not magical. No. Mitch just is like, you know what? I don't trust this woman to have this gun. I'm gonna take the bullets and she'll never check again. But also to then hammer home that she is guilty, which I guess happens just before this scene. He knows that she called the paparazzi guy who they're in his studio looking around for stuff.
Yeah.
She's looking for the photo, of course. She called him and told him to come over to her house to make a deal on her cell phone so that Mitch wouldn't know. And so Mitch pulls her cell phone and hits redial because there's no way she could have made any other phone calls between then and then.
No, so it's kind of implied that Mitch has just somehow magically followed her to know that she didn't make any more calls or load her gun.
Yeah, of course not.
But it also is good because this is the redemption of Mitch Bucannon within this story, because he's been a big putz this whole time.
Yeah.
And if he hasn't swallowed every lie she's told him, he's at least gone along with it. And now he's figured it out. He gets to explain it to the audience in a big info dump. He gets to do it for her. He gets to do these cool moves, push the button, show you the bullets and all this stuff. And he experiences grief because if he'd done a better job at the start, maybe greasy photographer guy would still be alive. So he carries the weight of his death on him until at least a few minutes before the end credits, which is all you can ask of another human being.
Of course. And this is where the show does something that I really enjoy. And that's that every episode, at least in season 1, ends with like a nightcap at nights where some guy is strumming along some Mustang Sally riff under some blue lights and everyone's dressed to the nines at their little like L.A. beachside blues club, because 90s were huge for like weird rhythm and blues type bars. And we talked about the little joke about coming home in an envelope, but this is a good little like cap to each episode. It's a good bookend and I like it a lot.
Yeah. Plus you get to show off the cast and some, like you said, some sporty clothes. Mitch gets to rock that small kind of priest collar dress shirt that dudes wore with the jacket. And he's got like the parachute trouser dress pants and loafers, which is an impossible combination.
Well, he's just steamed them too.
She splashes water. He's like, takes the time to sexy time to steam his pants because he
during the montage, of course. Yeah. We got this montage. We should really show him steaming his pants.
Yeah, you can montage anything. This Baywatch and Baywatch Nights prove that. So yeah, I do too. I like it. It's a night little rap. The only crime against humanity, and I said it out loud when this episode was over. It's like, you've got Lou Rawls in the credit. It's your premiere episode. How do you not have him be at nights that night just to wander into view?
Yeah, I think they were still figuring it out, or maybe it was that he was in this unaired pilot or unavailable pilot episode that we don't have access to at this point, and so maybe that's like an every other thing, and this is one of the episodes he just wasn't able to be at.
Could be. I mean, I would like to have at least seen him by himself on the mic going, hey, this one goes out to my friends upstairs who've had a rough night, but maybe they'll have a good day tomorrow. Something weird like that, because
a rough night, but a good day.
Yeah, exactly. They don't just watch the Bay or whatever they would do that was quirky. The only other thing I'm sure of is that guitarist has been playing nonstop since the opening.
Oh, yeah.
He's the same dude. And that opening scene and that opening montage where First Model gets killed. Come on, man. That is just the longest.
It's too much. It's too much. There's a lot of filler in this episode.
And I'm not the end all of music. I've listened to a lot of blues. That guitar is terrible.
Well, and that's the thing about that style and that time of like blues guitar for this audience, I should say. They all sound exactly the same. Like this is a guy who wants to show off and learn to scale, right? But there's no real feeling to it. And speaking of feeling, Bill, I have figured out a way that I think we can rate each episode, because listeners, we rate movies when we do the Bill and Rob's classic episodes. But as we do Night Owls, which will come, every so often in between when Bill and I need a little bit of a break.
When something's got to give.
Yeah. I think we should. I've got this theory that I learned from another podcast called Guys, a podcast about guys. That most audiences and users can't handle like a 5-tier rating. Like it's either 5 or 1 or 3. You know, it's very difficult. So I think now we of course don't fall into that, but for night owls,
fast and loose with that concept.
Yes. For night owls, though, I think we have to rate every episode from 1 to 3 hoots. So, Bill, throwing to you, give me your final thoughts and how many hoots out of 3 does this episode get?
Oh, man. I mean, like you said, for a premiere episode, for all the things that are weird about it, it works. I mean, It is what it needs to be. I think the only crime is they don't have enough time to squeeze in a couple of the things we were missing, but it hits all the high notes. The story shoots right on through. It cements everything in there, and it does it in just the wackiest way. I mean, if you'd seen Baywatch, you're like, oh, this is just Baywatch cranked up a good bit with some sexy time added to it.
Yeah.
So I'm down for it. This is the kind of first episode that will get you coming back for more. That's my belief. And plus, it's so Hasselhoffy. He just does so much with so little, at least at this point in the show. And he works the vibe. I love Garner. You know, Ryan's the wild card. The characters are all there. They're set up. They're interesting. I like the locale. I'm gonna give it 3 hoots. I don't think you could come out of the gate better with the crew you've got and the concept you've got, and what is clearly not the biggest budget, but you know, it works.
Well,
it works for a Baywatch Nights premiere. This is what you needed to see.
Yeah. Bill, I'm also coming in at 3 hoots because it may not be the best Baywatch Nights episode, but it is definitely a hoot. And I do feel like you are kicking open the door with this episode. And even the things that don't work, kind of like what you said, work in that weird backwards way. That's like, this show is fucking stupid and amazing at the same time, but I don't know which one's winning out. But regardless, I have to keep watching for both reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes it a 3-hooter. That's for sure.
Excellent.
Oh, Bill, well, do you want to tell people anything else before we head home tonight?
Just hope you like this episode. Rob and I have a shared passion for this weird TV. And this is something I'm glad that we're going to do as an extra thing here and there, because it's an easy lift for us, but this is a fun series, and it's also an insane series, which makes it great to talk about. So thanks for coming and checking this one out. Of course, if you like this, we do all our proper stuff at BillAndRobs.com, where we do Bill and Rob's An Excellent Adventure, where we do all kinds of movies over there and take a neat track with all that stuff. And we watch things some people have never seen up until some big stuff. We got some great stuff coming down the line, great back catalog. If you can go to our Patreon page, you can get everything there, become a member. And thanks for checking all this stuff out, especially sharing the show. Tell your friends, retweet it, repost it, re-blue sky it. I don't know what they're all called anymore. There's so many of them, but if you can throw it out there to some friends, that would be great. We'd really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And join us at patreon.com/BillAndRobs, or tell a friend or give a friend a gift at patreon.com/BillAndRobs/gift. We'll see you next time on Night Owls.
After the sun goes down.